Hello again. Welcome to the 12 January 2018 edition. It's a new year, forgive me, of Portsmouth This Week, Voice of Portsmouth Town Hall. Our special guest today is Erin Donovan-Boyle, the director of the Newport County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year to you.
Happy
as well.
New Year. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're lucky we've got Erin's son John out in the studio background, trying to micromanage this thing probably.
Probably.
And in fact, I wanted to get into that too. You were here a couple of years ago when we talked about a lot of things. A lot of stuff's changed, but I wonder if you could just recap your background for
Sure.
folks if they hadn't heard the first one.
Absolutely. So again, my name's Erin Donovan-Boyle. I've been the executive director at the Chamber now for about 2.5 years, and it's been wonderful. Prior to this position, I started my career at a government relations firm based out of Providence with offices in DC, and in that role I had a great exposure to different types of businesses, organizations, and policy initiatives. So I was able to support some grant writing, was successful in receiving some earmarks from congressional earmarks, and then also advocating on behalf of the businesses.
Yeah, I think it's good that you have that broader vision. You're not just focused on the island or Newport County. You know,
Sure, or I'm able to at least apply what I've learned from that broader vision to the island. So really excited about that. And then I went on to run the Ocean State Tall Ships Festival in 2012. I also ran Secretary Mollis's re-election campaign for Secretary of State, and then I started to work for Senator Rhode as his outreach and policy director in Providence office.
Okay.
So I was there for a few years before I came into this
well, that's
role.
great because it also gives you contacts that you can use to
Absolutely.
help us.
Yeah, and the great part about this role becoming available, I had known Jody for a really long time and Keith before her. Because of all of those different roles I explained, there was some sort of connection with the Newport County Chamber. So we worked on behalf of the Chamber on the Defense Economic Planning Commission, and a lot of the studies that went to realize and expose the impact of the defense economy on the state's economy, as well as support the BRAC efforts and initiatives in 2005. And then also in the other roles, I really got to know the waterfront district in Newport with the Ocean State Tall Ships Festival, the retail community, hospitality, and so forth. And then the different small businesses and the issues that small businesses face when I was at the Senator's office.
Now, where did you go to school?
My undergraduate degree was from Coastal Carolina University in poli-sci and history, and then I received a master's in international relations from Salve, Regina, and then I went overseas at University of Edinburgh. I received a Master of Science in Policy Studies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That must have been a lot of fun, yeah. Yeah, I taught in that Salve program briefly for a while, a couple of years.
Excellent, okay. Dr. Giannakos was my
yeah, sure.
favorite
I worked for
professor
him,
over
kind
there.
of.
Sure.
Family. I know last time you were here, you were
Expecting.
several months pregnant, I think.
That's right.
And we met your son John out there.
Yeah.
And how about your daughter?
My daughter, Cassidy, she'll be 2 in March, and my son just turned 4 in August.
Okay.
And so my husband
Good
and I
luck.
I know,
You guys
are very
must be a
lucky and very
high-energy
busy.
family, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
But this past Christmas was wonderful.
Well, that's great. It's good when you have kids that age.
Oh,
Let's turn now to the chamber itself, because and if you could briefly give us some background, like when did the chamber get started and what is the purpose of the chamber?
Sure.
What's your mission?
So, great question, because actually in 2020, the Chamber will have its 100th year celebration.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're very excited about that. The face of the Chamber has changed quite a bit over the years, over the 100 years, as you can imagine, but the core mission remains the same, and it's really to help support the business community, business interests, and the entire community to enhance the quality of life for everyone. So we stay core to that mission, and although some of our tactics and events and programs have changed, it still is all aimed at that.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, because we need that here on the island, I think.
Absolutely. So we have a tremendous opportunity. We have a tremendous asset on Aquinic Island and throughout Newport County with all of the different attributes that we have, to offer with our different industry sectors, hospitality and tourism, marine trades, ancillary services that are provided to all of those industries are second to none. And then, of course, the defense industry and the Naval Station Newport and all of its commands that are located here on our fourth community on Aquinic Island are so extremely important to all of our efforts and all of the different communities as well.
Absolutely. Now, I understand that the work of the chamber is done by you. You have a small staff, I assume,
do.
and then a board of directors and also a number of committees.
Absolutely.
How are all these people organized? And how do you
Sure.
keep it all together?
So we have a board of directors of up to 32 individuals of good standing members. So those individuals are nominated by membership, and a nominating committee is put together each year to identify potential board members. Each board member can serve up to 2 terms of 3 years each, and the chair usually serves 7 years because they serve as an ex officio for 1 year after. We have 6 different committees where all members are invited to participate. And we actually have one committee, the Retail and Hospitality Committee, where even if you're not a member of the chamber, you're invited to participate. We do not turn away people who want to participate in those activities. Actually, since I've come on board, we've formalized the process a little bit, though. Within the bylaws, it identifies each of those committees, but each committee has developed a charter and all of the different goals and objectives that committee should serve and achieve. And then each year, the chair, who is usually a board member of each of those committees, will develop a work plan. And in that work plan, it's really tying out the efforts and the initiatives that individual committee works on back to our strategic plan.
Okay, how often are the board meetings?
The board meetings are every other month, so
Okay.
six meetings a year. We actually have our annual meeting in January this year, January 31st. It used to take place in April, but we're aligning it with our budget, which is based on calendar year. So new board members will be inducted on January 31st, and everything will be on calendar year going forward.
Okay.
And then the executive committee, which is my primary committee who deals with a lot of the day-to-day details and really dives in on budget, on programs, on issues that are arising and so forth. They meet on a monthly basis.
Okay, now the committees are they ad hoc meetings, or are they every so often?
So the charters that each committee develops and adopts identifies what that is. Most of them meet on a monthly basis. 1 or 2 of them meet on quarterly basis.
Okay.
Based on what
And
their work plan
presumably
is
their
that year.
chairs report out to the executive committee or to your
And
board
the
at
full
some
board.
point.
Yes, both.
Okay. If somebody is interested in looking at being a board member or even participating in committees, how can they do that?
Certainly you can reach right out to me. Via email is probably the best way to get me, so Erin at newportchamber.com. But Kate Groteberg is our program and events director, and she coordinates all of the logistics around the monthly meetings for the different committees. So she would be the best person to call.
Okay, so basically by email or call the chamber directly.
Absolutely. And if someone's interested, what we do is we share the charter so they have a good understanding of what the committee is all about. And then we coordinate a meeting with the chair and sit down and talk about how things unfold and so forth,
Yeah.
and make sure they're
Now, typically
really
on the
interested.
committees, how many people are on the committees, or do they
It
vary?
depends. Yes, they all vary. Our Government Affairs Committee, for example, probably has 15 or 16 people because that's a pretty popular committee. Our Membership Committee right now, I believe, has 6 or 7, and we've just expanded that because it was a really small committee. And people's schedules change, so they commit, but can't always
Sure.
stick with the schedule, so it's constantly evolving. So
Okay. I know one of the things you do is you guys host a lot of events,
we do.
trying to entice people to come down and also to show off kind of what we have. What do you have coming up that's of interest to our audience?
Sure. So one of the things that we've really started to do is streamline the different series and the different types of events we had. Not only because we were holding so many with the small staff, but because there are so many events that take place on Aquidneck Island, which is a wonderful thing. That's what makes us so great. But we wanted to really remain mission driven. So we've sort of streamlined what we do. We certainly have the traditional business during hours events on a monthly basis right at the chamber, where we get about 20 to 25 business representatives come in and sort of give that elevator pitch about what it is that they do and what kind of business they're looking to generate. Then
Are these local business people or people from outside?
They're all members of the chamber.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the majority of our membership is from local businesses, although we do have some outside of Aquidneck Island and the county. Then we've got our business after hours, which is it's probably 10 times a year we host those, and it's the traditional networking type of opportunity where cocktails are offered. They're usually 5 to 7. And at a local business who hosts us, and just an opportunity to exchange cards, meet your peers and colleagues and so forth.
Okay.
And then we've got larger series. So one series that we kicked off last year is the Politics and Pancakes series. So this is a quarterly event that takes place. Last year, our guest list included the governor for a luncheon. A breakfast, hence the pancakes. Interestingly enough, though, our congressional delegation event that we had in December was a luncheon because of their schedule, flying in and flying out, as you can imagine. But we ensured that we had crepes for dessert. So we stuck with the theme. Okay. And then in our second quarter, we had a debate for the open Senate District 13 seat. Which was a lot of fun because there were so many candidates, so it was a great opportunity for us to focus and hone in on business-related issues and expose who was running and how they felt about specific issues. And then we had Scott McKay, a political pundit from NPR, who came down and did a breakfast meeting for us as well. So that's a quarterly series. We are intending to do that again this year. We've already have invitations out to the governor and the speaker, as well as the congressional delegation, and we do have Ted Nesi, who will be coming, I believe, in August, who has already confirmed. The other schedules are a bit more
Okay, now do you guys have a newsletter or something that...
We do.
How can people sign up for it? Can they go online, or do you have to be a member?
You don't have to be a member. You can absolutely just go online and sign up. It's a monthly e-newsletter that goes out the first Wednesday of each month.
Okay, because that might be a way for people to keep up on what's going on.
And actually we also have a weekly publication called At a Glance, and so it identifies all of the activities taking place during that week, and also includes a message from myself about whatever sort of hot topic I think that membership should be aware of on a weekly basis.
Okay, now, in just looking over kind of what you guys have been doing and even the new initiatives and things, it just seems like it's mostly focused on Newport and Middletown, mainly because those are probably the bigger business areas. And sometimes it's hard for people in Portsmouth to understand, why are we spending money on something that we don't seem to get a lot of benefit out of? How does the chamber benefit our town?
Well, I think we work with the town. I know we work with the town quite closely. So Rich Talipsky and Rich Trainer,
yeah, he's on your
course.
board, Rich, I think, right?
Formerly, not anymore, unfortunately.
Oh, he's not? Okay.
No, he got term limited out.
Okay.
Hopefully he'll come back, though. You
Yeah.
only have to be off for 1 year to be invited back.
Okay.
So I work very closely with them. So if I get phone calls about a particular business who's looking to locate or expand but are either busting at the seams or not quite sure how to enter the market, I make a referral. So I might put them right in touch with Rich Talipsky or whomever else where it makes sense, depending on what the business is and the type. Additionally, I've worked very closely with both of them on infrastructure issues that impact the island. So the Chamber helped to support the Navy surplus land in all 3 of the communities that are currently, surplused. And we helped to support a study, the matrix study about redevelopment of the tank farms, just in 2016, I think, to the tune of $33,000. So there certainly is a good return on investment just from that component. Additionally, though, I would say we help support the goals of the community as well. So while there is clearly a heavier concentration of businesses in Newport and Middletown, that's also a conscious effort by the town of Portsmouth, and we help to support that. What makes Aquidneck Island so unique and wonderful is that we do have 3 communities that have very different attributes, and they're very complementary. So working to ensure the rural character and nature remains is an important component of our mission as well.
Yeah, I've always thought of it as Newport is the place you go to have fun, Middletown is the place you go to shop, and Portsmouth is where you live.
Yeah.
That's always been my view of the
And many agree with that. And there's something for everyone in each town, and everybody has different stages of life and interests at different times, and that's what makes this community so neat.
Yeah. We talked earlier about how do we measure, the town, I think, is a member of your chamber, and it costs about $8,000, I think.
Just shy of that.
Yeah, something like that.
$700, yeah.
And how do we measure things? And we talked about our own Portsmouth Economic Development Committee. They came up with this little matrix, kind of a scorecard for things. I just wondered if there's any thought of you guys doing something like that in a more generic way, maybe, to allow towns to keep track of
the effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. A couple of things that I have recognized since we came on board is that the Chamber does a lot for the community, and with regard to economic development, with regard to legislative advocacy, and then just with general support for workshops and education to help businesses thrive and do well, and providing a platform for them. But we don't always do as great a job as communicating that. It's a little challenging because of the way that people access information these days. They access it when they want it, where they want it. So it does present with challenges, but that's what we're trying to do, is sort of raise the profile of the types of events we have, the conversations that we're having, and so forth. And so hopefully that will, help to spread the information throughout all of the communities that are involved. But further, we just launched a regional economic development division with all of the community supports. Including all of the 6 communities that we represent, including Bristol, as well as private philanthropical investment from Van Buren Foundation, and then Bank Newport as well. And hopefully we'll see a lot more private investment in this initiative going forward. And essentially what this is going to do is look at the region from a strategic perspective on what economic development opportunities are available, are wanted, and we are reachable. In doing that, we will establish metrics by which to measure what that investment is and what the return is and what progress looks like. And in doing that, we're not doing it in a silo. The stakeholders sitting around the table include your town administrator. It will include reaching out to your economic development committee, certainly include Rich Tulipsky, your business director, and all of the other communities that we serve as well. So that is certainly, we've recognized the importance of that, and without, in this day and age especially, without being able to provide data and information about exactly where your investment is, we understand the value will always be questioned.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to be able to come up with a logically firm answer for, particularly when it comes to filling out the budget time and tax increases and things like that.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of competition.
And it can be, there's no reason we can't do that today, and specifically bulleting out all of the initiatives that we've worked on behalf of Portsmouth and how it's impacted the businesses within the community.
Now, does Portsmouth have representation on your board right now?
Terry Cortran is on our board. I'm trying to think what other businesses are specifically from Portsmouth, I can't think off, I don't know
Yeah,
where all of them are
where they
located,
are, yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, that's okay.
I should know that.
That's right. Terry's good. And
She's
she'll,
fantastic.
she's a very smart lady.
Absolutely.
How do you guys interface? There's a lot of interface questions coming up here, but
Okay.
how do you interface with our Portsmouth Business Association, which is kind of like, as I see it, a mini chamber?
Sure, it is, absolutely. And there are a number of those types of associations throughout our district.
Okay, so it's not just us.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's, the Broadway Business Merchants Association, the Jamestown Chamber, and a lot of those relationships are traded membership for both of us. So we obviously invite all of Portsmouth Business Association and its members to all of our different events to participate, and we get invited to their annual meeting as well. I have attended a couple of their after-hours events, but
Yeah.
not all of them.
Yeah, those are usually fun.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay, another one is kind of up the other side, up at the state level. We had Elizabeth Tanner, the new director of Rhode Island Department of Business Regulation here. And she was also formerly a VP at the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation, none of which I even knew existed before she came on the show. But they're also focused on economic developments.
Absolutely.
And how do you guys connect with them?
So I actually, when she was at Rhode Island Commerce Corporation, I sat on her leadership advisory committee with some of my other colleagues from other chambers, along with Stephen Pryor, the Secretary of Commerce, to talk about a lot of the local issues that we're hearing about, specifically what their efforts were in regard to, regulatory reform, permitting reform, those sorts of things, and what the real issues are that commerce should be working on. So that was, we met quarterly, so that was an excellent opportunity to connect with commerce. In addition, we've had her and some of her colleagues come down and do workshops and presentations, spread the word
Okay,
about
good,
some of the
yeah.
different initiatives that they were working on, and also the different tools and resources that became available under this new administration, or it's not that new anymore, but
Yeah.
so we certainly, I work very closely with them. I'm also, in fact, just confirmed for a meeting in a couple of weeks with her with regard to this Regional Economic Development Division to identify a potential pilot project in using the entire region to look at construction permitting processes and potentially identifying ways to streamline the process, as well as share best practices amongst the communities.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of initiatives trying to get all these processes of just about any administrative thing in the state,
Right.
be able to do it online, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So that's kind of moving forward,
And
which
more
is great.
efficiently.
Yeah, and more
Yeah.
efficiently.
Which just positively impacts the business
And
climate.
it makes sense. We have the technology.
Right.
Let's use it.
Right.
You mentioned the Navy and our state reps as being important people that you're connected to as well. What about the BRAC? The BRAC's coming up apparently again, and this island is pretty heavily, dependent on having the
course.
Navy presence here.
Right.
I can't believe any logical person would consider taking it out, but you just never know, particularly in this
Well,
political environment.
Even better than that, we should look at it as an opportunity to gain more commands and to gain more colleges within the command and,
Yeah,
and
I like
and
the
so
way you
forth.
think. That's
Absolutely, we
that's
have
good.
to. Well, we are well positioned. I think that can't be understated. However, we always have to be prepared. And one of the ways the Chamber has been involved with that prior to BRAC 2005, way before I was involved, was working with the state legislature to identify funding to study what the local impact, economic
Yeah.
impact is, and then also led, with the state, with then EDC, our Senate, Senator Reed and our entire congressional delegation in the governor's office to actually state why it is so important to support the Navy
Yeah.
and keep them located here. And since then, we helped to establish the Joint Commission on State Economic Planning. We just I have a seat, the Chamber has a seat on that commission, and specifically what we look at is all different aspects of of the economy that are impacting the Navy and the National Guard and vice versa.
Yeah.
So the task of that commission is to identify ways to make the base operate more efficiently and be as supportive as a community as possible. One of the big pieces that we're working on now is the Woodard and Curran study that was completed in 2016 through funding that came from the state to identify the infrastructure and opportunities around it along Burma and Stringham Road.
Yeah, infrastructure is a big issue in the island
Absolutely.
too, and as we talked about it, you're kind of involved in kind of keeping an eye on that and keeping the pressure on. We've only got a few minutes left, and I
Sure.
want you to talk about your Regional Economic Development Division and the new company you're bringing in.
Okay.
You gave a update to the town council just the other day. Can you tell us how this thing is evolving here, and where are we now?
Sure. So this initiative started before me as well with my predecessor, Jody Sullivan, and the idea of it was to recognize that we are, individually are very small communities with limited resources, so the activity around economic development was falling on already burdened staffs, as well as volunteers or part-time staff members. And that was working only on one individual municipality. Rather than looking at us as a region, we have so many more attributes to identify for businesses who want to stay here and grow, but also attracting new ones. So in 2013, I believe the first stage was completed and commissioned, and it was a feasibility study of developing this division. And it was supported by all of the different communities as well as Van Buren Foundation. This next phase that we're working on is actual implementation. Again, supported by all of the communities, Van Buren Foundation and Bank Newport. And what the steering committee, made up of those different stakeholders, did was put out an RFP to identify all of the things we're looking to accomplish in year one of implementation of this program and hire either a firm or an individual. We had 4 applicants. Fourth Economy was the prevailing applicant. And they're a firm made up of 6 or 7 individuals based out of Pittsburgh, but with past experience here in Rhode Island. And what they're doing now, and they were on the ground and presented with me on Monday, they were on the ground all week, they're doing the background data gathering on exactly what it is that we have here, what our attributes are, what each individual stakeholder, including our trade associations that promote workforce development opportunities and so forth, what it is that they should focus on for implementation or sort of the low-hanging fruit, but then also develop that long-term 5-year strategic plan from a regional basis of where we can start positioning ourselves.
Now, I guess my only question when I was reading about this was, why go with a company rather than just hire a local individual or something?
Well, we thought that
Were there, who were the other applicants? Were they companies or individuals? We got less than a minute, by the way.
So it was all companies that applied. We wrote the RFP so that individuals or companies could, but because we were pretty demanding about what we wanted as deliverables for year one, we saw the positive opportunity to have a firm do it and have more resources. Ultimately, this will be one individual full-time on the ground.
Okay. I want to thank you for coming in today, and I have to say I'm totally blown away by the amount of connections and everything else that you guys have, and I wish you all the best. And I also want to invite you to come back or have a part of this program anytime you need to get the word out.
That sounds great. I really appreciate that, and there are so many other things we didn't talk about that I would love to come back and touch on.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Doug Smith, we'll see you next time.